A Course in Miracles Audio Lessons, Lesson 153. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. Paragraph 1. You who feel threatened by this changing world, its twists of fortune and its bitter jests, its brief relationships and all the gifts it merely lends to take away again, attend this lesson well. The world provides no safety. It is rooted in attack, and all its gifts of seeming safety are illusory deceptions. It attacks and then attacks again. No peace of mind is possible where danger threatens thus. Paragraph 2. The world gives rise but to defensiveness, for threat brings anger. Anger makes attack seem reasonable, honestly provoked, and righteous in the name of self-defense. We have a footnote that reads, in other words, the world's attacks on us seem to be a threat. This threat inspires anger in us and makes our retaliative attacks seem like justified self-defense. This is how the world gives rise but to defensiveness. End of footnote. Yet is defensiveness a double threat, for it attests to weakness and sets up a system of defense that cannot work. Now are the weak still further undermined, for there is treachery without, and still a greater treachery within. The mind is now confused and knows not where to turn to find escape from its imaginings. Paragraph 3. It is as if a circle held it fast, wherein another circle bound it, and another in that one, until escape no longer can be hoped for nor attained. Attack, defense, defense, attack become the circles of the hours and the days, which bind the mind in heavy bands of steel with iron overlaid, returning but to start again. There seems to be no break nor ending in the ever-tightening grip of imprisonment upon the mind. Paragraph 4. Defenses are the costliest of all the prices which the ego would exact. In them lies madness in a form so grim that hope of sanity but seems to be an idle dream beyond the possible. The sense of threat the world encourages is so much deeper and so far beyond the frenzy and intensity of which you can conceive that you have no idea of all the devastation it has wrought. You are its slave. You know not what you do in fear of it. And we have another footnote that reads, in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 23, verse 34, it reads, and Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. The above allusion implies that our fear of the world's attack, we unknowingly end up crucifying God's Son, ourselves. The above allusion implies that out of fear of the world's attack, we unknowingly end up crucifying God's Son, ourselves. End of footnote. You do not understand how much you have been made to sacrifice who feel its iron grip upon your heart. Paragraph 5. You do not realize what you have done to sabotage the holy peace of God by your defensiveness. For you behold the Son of God as but a victim to attack by fantasies, by dreams, and by illusions he has made, yet helpless in their presence, needful only of defense by still more fantasies and dreams, by which illusions of his safety comfort him. Paragraph 6. Defenselessness is strength. It testifies to recognition of the Christ in you. Perhaps you will recall the course maintains that choice is always made between his strength and your own weakness, seen apart from him. And we have a footnote that reads, in chapter 31 of the text, section 9, paragraph 2193, it reads, you always choose between your weakness and the strength of Christ in you. End of footnote. Defenselessness can never be attacked because it recognizes strength so great. Attack is folly, or a silly game a tired child might play when he becomes too sleepy to remember what he wants. Paragraph 7. Defensiveness is weakness. It proclaims you have denied the Christ and come to fear his Father's anger. What can save you now from your delusion of an angry God whose fearful image you believe to see at work in all the evils of the world? What but illusions could defend you now, when it is but illusions which you fight? Paragraph 8. We will not play such childish games today, for our true purpose is to save the world, and we would not exchange for foolishness the endless joy our function offers us. We would not let our happiness slip by because a senseless fragment of a dream happened to cross our minds, and we mistook the figures in it for the Son of God, its tiny instant for eternity. And we have a footnote that reads, the senseless fragment of a dream is the world. End of footnote. Paragraph 9. We look past dreams today and recognize that we need no defense because we were created unassailable, without all thought or wish or dream in which attack has any meaning. Now we cannot fear, for we have left all fearful thoughts behind. And in defenselessness we stand secure, serenely certain of our safety now, sure of salvation, sure we will fulfill our chosen purpose as our ministry extends its holy blessing through the world. Paragraph 10. Be still a moment, and in silence think how holy is your purpose, how secure your rest, untouchable within its light. God's ministers have chosen that the truth be with them. And we have another footnote that reads, the term ministers, God's ministers, ministers of God, is used only in this lesson and in the text, and they're only in the idea for the day. Our ministry is also referred to in lessons 106, 151, and 157. This lesson emphasizes that God's ministers have been entrusted by Him with a mission to awaken their brothers, which they do by extending God's love and strength and peace, which is what paragraph 19, line 4 reads. The next lesson emphasizes that they are God's messengers who must first accept His messages for themselves so that they can give them everywhere that they were meant to be. And this is specified in Workbook Lessons 154, paragraph 6, line 2. God's ministers have chosen that the truth be with them. Who is holier than they? Who could be sure that his happiness is fully guaranteed? And who could be more mightily protected? What defense could possibly be needed by the ones who are amongst the chosen ones of God, by His election and their own as well? And we have another footnote that reads, In the book of Psalm, chapter 105 and verse 6, it reads, O offspring of Abraham, his servant, sons of Jacob, his chosen ones. In Luke, the Gospel of Luke, chapter 18, verse 7, it reads, And will not God vindicate his elect, who cry to him day and night? The above passage alludes both to the concept of God's chosen ones and the concept of his elect, both of which will be reinterpreted in the following paragraph. End of footnote. Paragraph 11. It is the function of God's ministers to help their brothers choose as they have done. God has elected all, but few have come to realize his will is but their own. And we have another footnote that reads, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 14, it reads, For many are called, but few are chosen. By saying that God has elected all, the course here corrects the notion that God chooses some people but excludes others. The idea that few are chosen, the idea of God's elect as an exclusive group, and by implication, the idea of God's chosen ones as a particular people referred to in the previous paragraph. The exclusion comes not from him, but from us. But few have come to realize his will, which chooses them, is but their own. End of footnote. Paragraph 11. I'll reread that. It is the function of God's ministers to help their brothers choose as they have done. God has elected all, but few have come to realize his will is but their own. And while you fail to teach what you have learned, salvation waits, and darkness holds the world in grim imprisonment. Nor will you learn that light has come to you, and your escape has been accomplished. For you will not see the light until you offer it to all your brothers. As they take it from your hands, so will you recognize it as your own. Paragraph 12. Salvation can be thought of as a game that happy children play. It was designed by one who loves his children and who would replace their fearful toys with joyous games which teach them that the game of fear is gone. His game instructs in happiness because there is no loser. Everyone who plays must win, and in his winning is the gain for everyone ensured. The game of fear is gladly laid aside when children come to see the benefits salvation brings. Paragraph 13. You who have played that you are lost to hope, abandoned by your father, left alone in terror in a fearful world, made mad by sin and guilt, be happy now. The game is over. Now a quiet time has come in which we put away the toys of guilt, unlock our quiet and childish thoughts of sin forever from the pure and holy minds of heaven's children and the Son of God. We pause but for a moment more to play our final happy game upon this earth, and then we go to take our rightful place where truth abides and games are meaningless. Paragraph 14. So is the story ended. Let this day bring the last chapter closer to the world, that everyone may learn the tale he reads of terrifying destiny, defeat of all his hopes, his pitiful defense against a vengeance he cannot escape, was but his own deluded fantasy. God's ministers have come to waken him from the dark dreams this story has evoked in his confused, bewildered memory of this distorted tale. God's Son can smile at last on learning that it is not true. Paragraph 15. Today we practice in a form we will maintain for quite a while. And we have a footnote here that says, We will maintain this form of practice for 48 lessons until the beginning of Review 6 at Lesson 201. This form includes morning and evening quiet time that lasts as long as possible, at least 5 minutes, and ideally more than 30, plus hourly practice periods in which, besides spending time with the idea for the day, we thank God for His gifts in the previous hour and ask His guidance for the coming hour. This form should also be understood to include response to temptation, repeating the idea in response to upsets in order to dispel them, which we are asked to practice throughout the workbook. There is, in fact, a reference in this lesson to a type of response to temptation. We call upon Christ's strength each time we feel the threat of our defenses undermine our certainty of purpose. We will pause a moment as He tells us, "I am here." And we will read this in paragraph 18, lines 5 and 6. End of footnote. We will begin each day by giving our attention to the daily thought as long as possible. 5 minutes now becomes the least we give to preparation for a day in which salvation is the only goal we have. 10 would be better, 15 better still. And as distraction ceases to arise to turn us from our purpose, we will find that half an hour is too short a time to spend with God. Nor will we willingly give less at night in gratitude and joy. Paragraph 16. Each hour adds to our increasing peace as we remember to be faithful to the will we share with God. At times, perhaps a minute, even less, will be the most that we can offer as the hour strikes. Sometimes we will forget. At other times, the busyness of the world will close on us, and we will be unable to withdraw a little while and turn our thoughts to God. Yet, when we can, we will observe our trust as ministers of God in hourly remembrance of our mission and His love. And we will quietly sit by and wait on Him and listen to His voice and learn what He would have us do the hour that is yet to come, while thanking Him for all the gifts He gave us in the one gone by. Paragraph 17. In time, with practice, you will never cease to think of Him and hear His loving voice guiding your footsteps into quiet paths where you will walk in true defenselessness, for you will know that heaven goes with you. Nor would you keep your mind away from Him a moment, even though your time is spent in offering salvation to the world. Think you He will not make this possible for you, who chose to carry out His plan for the salvation of the world and yours? Paragraph 18. Today our theme is our defenselessness. We clothe ourselves in it as we prepare to meet the day. We rise up strong in Christ and let our weakness disappear as we remember that His strength abides in us. And we have a footnote that reads, this may be a reference to Ephesians 6:10 and 11. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of His might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Both references include the image of clothing yourself with divine strength that will protect you from temptation. The Course version puts its own unique twist on the image. Instead of putting on armor, you are putting on defenselessness. End of footnote. We will remind ourselves that He remains beside us through the day and never leaves our weakness unsupported by His strength. We call upon His strength each time we feel the threat of our defense undermine our certainty of purpose, we will pause a moment as he tells us, I am here. Paragraph 19. Our practicing will now begin to take the earnestness of love to help you keep your mind from wandering from its intent. Be not afraid nor timid. This brings us to another footnote that reads, several times in the King James Version of the Gospels, Jesus says, be not afraid. See, for example, Matthew 14:27. But straightway Jesus spake unto them, saying, be of good cheer. It is I, be not afraid. End of footnotes. There can be no doubt that you will reach your final goal. The ministers of God can never fail, because the love and strength and peace that shine from them to all their brothers come from Him. These are His gifts to you. Defenselessness is all you need to give Him in return. You lay aside but what was never real, to look on Christ and see His sinlessness. End of lesson 153. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. Enjoy your practice.